Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Full Armor of God. I feel compelled to come on here today. I had watched a video about what took place in California in RanchoPalosVerdes8 with regards to a landslide there, and the ground has been moving for quite some time, and they turned the power off. And later on in this video I will take you to a report on that. But right now I wanted to show you that I did receive a prophetic vision on Monday, June 17th. It says here, had a closed eye vision of billowing dust and a landslide or earthquake at 11:20 a.m. I did look up 11:20 in the Strong's Concordance. 11:20 in the Strong's Greek Concordance is the word gonopiteo, and the definition is to fall on the knees. I fall on my knees before in supplication, supplicate, entreat. Now, I believe there could be a double message here: to fall on your knees, which could be something that would happen during an earthquake or a landslide, or if you're falling on your knees before the Lord in supplication and repentance to what could be happening from this earthquake, which could have the land fall into the sea. I could see people falling to their knees asking God for mercy. I could see two different meanings with that 11:20. As well as I did have another message. Let me show you. On Friday, June 21st, this year, 2024, I had a closed eye vision of my living room shaking as I was sitting on my couch at 4:37 p.m. I did look up 437 in the Strong's Concordance. 437 in the Strong's Greek Concordance is the word anthomogehomai, and the definition is to acknowledge, fully confess. Usage: I make a mutual agreement, I confess, acknowledge, formally admit, give thanks to. Now this reminds me of confessing of your sins, admitting that you belong to Jesus Christ, accepting him into your hearts and giving thanks to him, and being saved during some type of a calamity or a catastrophe like an earthquake or a landslide. So I wanted to show you this prophetic dream that a man had back in the 1930s. I believe it was 1937. His name was Joe Brant, and this video was taken a year back, and it was after the landslide that had took place in Rolling Hills, California. And I did look up the distance between RanchoPalosVerdes8 and Rolling Hills, California, and they're very close in proximity to one another. They're only 7 miles apart. But I wanted to show you a segment of his prophetic dream, and I'll give you a little bit of background information. He was hospitalized after falling off of a horse. Now remember, this is back in 1937, and he had this reoccurring dream every day about this major earthquake that took place in California. And it also, towards the end, it started spreading like throughout the world. So I wanted to show you this too. I don't know if this is what is about to take place, but I wanted to show you the correlation between what had taken place a year ago in Rolling Hills as well as the RanchoPalosVerdes8, and if there's any type of a connection between those two landslides and what could be about to happen. So here's a portion of that video that I made back on July 10th, 2023. It's entitled Rolling Hills, California Landslide, Joe Brant's Prophetic Dream, 1937, After Fall from a Horse. Could this be happening now? Now, this was a year ago.
I know it is going to happen. Something is going to happen. It is happening now. It sure did. She woke me up, grinning and smiling, that fat one again. It's time for your milk, kiddo, she says. Gosh, old women of 30 acting like the cat's pajamas. Next time maybe she'll bring hot chocolate. Where have I been? Where haven't I been? I've been to the ends of the earth and back. I've been to the end of the world. There isn't anything left. Not even Fresno, even though I'm lying here right this minute. If only my eyes would get a little clearer so I can write all this down. Nobody will believe me anyway. I'm going back to that last moment on the boulevard. Some sweet kid went past, dragging little boys, twins, I guess, by each hand. Her skirt was up, well, pretty high, and she had a tired look. I thought for a minute I could ask her about the birds, what had happened to them, and then I remembered she hadn't seen me. Her hair was all frowsy, way out all over her head. A lot of them looked like that, but she looked so tired and like she was sorry about something. I guess she was sorry before it happened, because it surely did happen. There was a funny smell. I don't know where it came from. I didn't like it. A smell like sulfur, sulfuric acid, a smell like death. For a minute I thought I was back in chemistry class. When I looked around for the girl, she was gone. I wanted to find her for some reason. It was as if I knew something was going to happen and I could stay with her, help her. She was gone, and I walked half a block, then I saw the clock again. My eyes seemed glued to that clock. I couldn't move. I just waited. It was 5 minutes to 4 on a sunny afternoon. I thought I would stand there looking at that clock forever waiting for something to come. Then, when it came, it was nothing. It was just nothing. It wasn't nearly as hard as the earthquake we had 2 years ago. The ground shook, just an instant. People looked at each other, surprised. Then they laughed. I laughed too. So this was what I had been waiting for. This funny little shake. It meant nothing. I was relieved and I was disappointed. What had I been waiting for? I started back up the boulevard, moving my legs like those kids. How do they do it? I never found out. I felt as if the ground wasn't solid under me, knew I was dreaming, and yet I wasn't dreaming. There was that smell again, coming up from the ocean. I was getting to the 5 and 10 store and I saw the look on the kids' faces. 2 of them were right in front of me coming my way. Let's get out of this place. Let's go back east. He seemed scared. It wasn't as if the sidewalks were trembling, but you couldn't seem to see them. Not with your eyes you couldn't. An old lady had a dog, a little white dog, and she stopped and looked scared, and grabbed him in her arms and said, "Let's go home for through. Mama is going to take you home." That poor lady, hanging on to her dog. I got scared. Real scared. I remembered the girl. She was way down the block probably. I ran and ran, and the ground kept trembling. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. But I knew it was trembling. Everybody looked scared. They looked terrible. One young lady just sat down on the sidewalk all doubled up. She kept saying, "Earthquake, it's the earthquake," over and over. But I couldn't see that anything was different. Then, when it came, how it came. Like nothing in God's world. Like nothing. It was like the scream of a siren, long and low, or the scream of a woman I heard having a baby when I was a kid. It was awful. It was as if something, some monster, was pushing up the sidewalks. You felt it long before you saw it, as if the sidewalks wouldn't hold you anymore. I looked out at the cars. They were honking, but not scared. They just kept moving. They didn't seem to know yet that anything was happening. Then, that white car, that baby half-sized one, came sprawling from the inside lane right against the curb. The girl who was driving just sat there. She sat there with her eyes staring, as if she couldn't move, but I could hear her. She made funny noises. I watched her, thinking of the other girl. I said that it was a dream and I would wake up. But I didn't wake up. The shaking had started again, but this time different. It was a nice shaking, like a cradle being rocked for a minute, and then I saw the middle of the boulevard seem to be breaking in two. The concrete looked as if it were being pushed straight up by some giant shovel. It was breaking in two. That is why the girl's car went out of control. And then a loud sound again, like I've never heard before, then hundreds of sounds, all kinds of sounds. Children, and women, and those crazy guys with earrings. They were all moving, some of them above the sidewalk. I could describe it. They were lifted up. And the waters kept oozing. The cries. God, it was awful. I woke up. I never want to have that dream again. It came again. Like the first time, which was a preview, and all I could remember was that it was the end of the world. I was right back there, all that crying. Right in the middle of it. My eardrums felt as if they were going to burst. Noise everywhere. People falling down, some of them hurt badly. Pieces of buildings, chips, flying in the air. One hit me hard on the side of the face, but I didn't seem to feel it. I wanted to wake up, to get away from this place. It had been fun in the beginning, the first dream, when I kind of knew I was going to dream the end of the world or something. This was terrible. There were older people in cars. Most of the kids were on the street. But those old guys were yelling bloody murder, as if anybody could help them. Nobody could help anybody. It was then I felt myself lifted up. Maybe I had died. I don't know. But I was over the city. It was tilting toward the ocean, like a picnic table. The buildings were holding, better than you could believe. They were holding. They were holding. They were holding. The people saw they were holding and they tried to cling to them or get inside. It was fantastic. Like a building had a will of its own. Everything else breaking around them, and they were holding. I was up over them, looking down. I started to root for them. Hold that line, I said. Hold that line. Hold that line. Hold that line. I wanted to cheer, to shout, to scream. If the buildings held, those buildings on the boulevard, maybe the girl with the two kids, maybe she could get inside. It looked that way for a long time, maybe 3 minutes, and 3 minutes was like forever. You knew they were going to hold, even if the waters kept coming up. Only they didn't. I've never imagined what it would be like for a building to die. A building dies just like a person. It gives way. Some of the bigger ones did just that. They began to crumble, like an old man with palsy, who couldn't take it anymore. They crumbled right down to nothing. And the little ones screamed like mad, over and above the roar of the people. They were mad about dying. But buildings die. I couldn't look anymore at the people. I kept wanting to get higher. Then I seemed to be out of it all, but I could see. I seemed to be up on Big Bear near San Bernardino, but the funny thing was that I could see everywhere. I knew what was happening. The earth seemed to start to tremble again. I could feel it even though I was high up. This time it lasted maybe 12 seconds, and it was gentle. You couldn't believe anything so gentle could cause so much damage. But then I saw the streets of Los Angeles, and everything between the San Bernardino Mountains and Los Angeles. It was still tilting towards the ocean, houses, everything that was left. I could see the big lanes, dozens of big lanes still loaded with cars sliding the same way. Now the ocean was coming in, moving like a huge snake across the land. I wondered how long it was, and I could see the clock, even though I wasn't there on the boulevard. It was 4:29. It had been half an hour. I was glad I couldn't hear the crying anymore. But I could see everything. I could see everything. Then, like looking at a huge map of the world, I could see what was happening on the land and with the people. San Francisco was feeling it, but she was not in any way like Hollywood or Los Angeles. It was moving just like that earthquake movie with Jeanette McDonald and Gable. I could see all those mountains coming together. I knew it was going to happen to San Francisco. It was going to turn over. It would turn upside down. It went quickly, because of the twisting, I guess. It seemed much faster than Hollywood, but then I wasn't exactly there. I was a long way off. I was a long way off. I shut my eyes for a long time, I guess 10 minutes, and when I opened them I saw Grand Canyon. When I looked at Grand Canyon, the great big gap was closing in, and Boulder Dam was being pushed from underneath. And then, Nevada, and on up to Reno. Way down south, way down. Baja, California. Mexico too. It looked like some volcano down there was erupting, along with everything else. I saw the map of South America, especially Colombia. Another volcano eruption.
So this reminds me of the prophetic word that I received on September 6, 2023, entitled Rolling Hills. Its name is Its Curse, Worse Than Before, Underground Cracking, Spiderweb, Reaching Volcanic Zones. It was posted on September 8th, 2023. And like I said, Rolling Hills is only 7 miles from RanchoPalosVerdes8. So I'm putting this warning out as a follow-up video. I have another 4 more videos, I believe, 4 or 5, about this cracking and the landslide and this earth movement and its possible connection to volcanic activity underground. What I'd like to take you to now is the news report that I found on YouTube on yesterday, September 2nd, which would have been Labor Day, about the electricity being turned off in the community of RanchoPalosVerdes8, and they had no warning. It was just turned off. So I don't know if there's something that is about to happen, and this could be leading up to this prophetic dream that Joe Brant had back in 1937. I don't know. It sounds very similar to me, with the land falling into the ocean and then how it expands with the volcanic activity to other places in the world. So what I will do is leave links to these other videos down below in the description box. Close is Rolling Hills, California to Palos Verdes.
The drive from Rolling Hills to Rancho Palos Verdes is 7.0 miles.
The land movement under Ranchos Palos Verdes be caused by volcanic activity.
According to City of Rancho Palos Verdes, thick layers of volcanic ash deposited millions of years ago were compressed over time into bentonite. In the presence of water, bentonite becomes very slippery and has been a major contributing factor for landslides in Rancho Palos Verdes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the News at 7. I'm Rick Chambers.
And hi there. I'm Courtney Farrell in tonight for Corrine Winter. Our top story at 7. Homeowners in a Rancho Palos Verdes neighborhood are struggling with shifting land, and they are dealt with another blow today.
Yeah, just a month after they learned that their gas was getting shut off, their lights now are going out indefinitely. And that's led to an evacuation warning. Angelique Akade has reaction now from some of those weary residents.
Yeah, we spoke with neighbors who say they are frustrated, not necessarily that the power is going off, but because they weren't given enough time. To make matters worse today, the bad news just kept coming. With 24 hours notice, residents in the Portuguese Bend neighborhood of Rancho Palos Verdes were warned by SoCal Edison on Saturday that their power would be shut off. indefinitely.
Indefinitely and with no warning to sufficiently prepare.
Justin Monzon says his plan today was to cut down a tree. Instead,
jumped into action and were tasked with getting generators secured.
And while the official notice came today, Justin says neighbors have been pleading for help as landslides have been an increasing problem.
The overwhelming sensation when I first read the email from Edison is frustration.
135 damaged homes had the gas shut off last month due to safety concerns. Then a sewer spill this week. And the final straw, 2 days ago, a fire in the area further damaged electric equipment, leading to today's notice. Reggie Kumar, a spokesperson with Southern California Edison, said, quote, "We know this is a difficult time for Rancho Palos Verdes, and we've been looking for ways that we can keep the power safely flowing. At this point, land movement in Rancho Palos Verdes has created such a dangerous situation that we must make the difficult decision to disconnect power to 140 residential customers indefinitely."
Do I feel that that's a realistic amount of time? Absolutely not.
Rancho Palos Verdes mayor said to make matters worse, the city's sewage system is run on electricity.
Water, sewage cannot be ejected from the home safely and properly, and so it then becomes a huge sanitation and health issue.
Meaning residents over Labor Day weekend were warned they'd have to evacuate.
Honestly, the gas was a huge blow, but losing electricity takes this all to a different level.
But despite the warning and offers for alternative housing, Justin says this is his home.
Now for the message given from the Lord God on September the 6th, 2023. Trouble, much trouble is befalling the land. Destruction everywhere. The time is at hand. A great commotion. Then communication ceases. After chaos ensues, destruction from a foreign land. Disaster. A disaster. An earthquake triggering a volcanic eruption. The land underground has become more unstable. The layers of the Earth's crust are shifting and sifting together now. The molten lava within the volcano is bubbling now, hotter than previously thought or recorded. It is ready to blow, but the geologists don't think so. No, they believe they have more time to wait. They think it would be a crime to excavate and maybe even a waste of time and precious tax dollars. The surveyors, the installers of new buildings, both business and residential, are only looking at the potential for profit from the development of the land near the volcanic activity. The proclivity of it all, greed over safety, where a man's life is no longer a determining factor of consideration. Only more development and excavation of destabilized land. The shifting sand is falling through the crevices. There is nothing beneath the land capable of withstanding a major land shifting. An earthquake is happening. Tremors are beginning to become more intensive. The magnitudes are higher on the scale, and the number of these tremors are increasing to no avail. The population has just begun to regain their composure in this region. Rolling Hills, its name is its curse. It's worse than before. Nothing was done to shore it up. The underground network of cracking is spiderwebbing out from the area. It is reaching volcanic zones. It is a powder keg waiting to happen. The ground is heaving up from the pressurized gases. It lifts and expands and shifts the sands in areas not on a solid rock foundation. It will be happening soon, for the area cannot withstand digging in these underground cavities. Hollows are forming, pockets of gases are steaming, and as the pressure builds, the ground moves farther apart. My beloved children, please take this to heart. If you live in the Rolling Hills Plateau region, move quickly out. Now, what I find intriguing about this video about Joe Brandt's prophecy, his prophetic dream from 1937, when he speaks about the girl with the 2 small children, what I find intriguing here is that she has 2 small children. Now, we know that the children are innocent and they will be taken up with the first fruits. So this kind of gives me a time marker as to when this earthquake actually does occur, which I believe could possibly be right before the rapture of the church, the faithful bride of Christ.
Real scared. I remembered the girl. She was way down the block probably. I ran and the ground kept trembling. I couldn't see it. But I knew it was trembling. Everybody looked scared. They looked terrible.
On Saturday, August 17th, I did hear an earthquake at 2:41. I did look up 241 in the Strong's Concordance. 241 in the Strong's Hebrew Concordance is the word ozen, and the definition is an ear. And that reminded me of the scripture in the book of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 15. This scripture refers to John the Baptist. If you start with verse 7, it reads, "And as they departed, Jesus began to say unto the multitudes concerning John, What went ye out into the darkness to see? A reed shaken with the wind? But went ye out for to see a man clothed in soft raiment? Behold, they that wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. But what went ye out for to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and more than a prophet. For this is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there hath not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force." This is verse 13. "For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John." Verse 14. "And if ye will receive it, this is Elias, which was for to come." Now this is verse 15. "He that hath ears to hear, let him hear."
And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it was rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come. And who shall be able to stand?